All right, we are on, um, and welcome everybody to the issue number 20 or episode number 20 of the short fiction side hustle. And this one's momentous because we have completed Daughter of Regals and Other Tales as of today, and we will be talking about the final tale in this collection today called Sir Visal's Tale or Vissel. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I'll say Visal. Um, the Yes, and so this is the last little novella here in the book, and looking at the introduction, this one was written specifically for this collection when it came back out. Came out way back in 1980 or whatever it was. Um, and once again, this is for me a reread because I read these way back in the late 80s, early 90s, and so it's very fresh and new. um, and so Sir Vasil's Tale. Um, let's get some high level thoughts on this one. There, how about you, Alex? What did you think of this tale here?
Yeah, I guess first impressions were I enjoyed the really intense sort of medieval European setting. Kind of reminded me of earlier story in this one, Lady in White. This reminded me of at least the setting and kind of the style of that story the most out of as any of these have connected to each other. Um, I like anything to do with witches and witchcraft, witch trials, that sort of thing, and just the whole narrative structure of it is really interesting. How much time we get to spend with the man who's actually Sir Visal, who's telling the tale, is almost as important of a story in its own right as the story that he's telling. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's my favorite one from the collection, but it's one of my favorites for sure.
Cool. All right, Vasha.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic story to close the book out on. I loved all the interludes where Weissel was demanding more drink. Are you blind? Can't you see my flagon is what empty? uh, and yeah, and I love the story that was told and how it ended. And um, I mean, I want to talk about how have we come to expect sort of happy endings from these collections? And because I didn't expect that the witch would die, and I would have been very sad if she had, and maybe thrown the book across the room. But so I'm glad she didn't. But yeah, I enjoyed the story overall, and I love a good happy ending. So that was a good story.
And Chris.
Yeah, I liked it, didn't love it. I don't think I was sort of reminiscent of one. I think that might have been one of the tales in setting, certainly. Oh, in the last collection, I believe. The one that had the king and the locked and the necromancers. It reminded me a lot of that actually at that stage. And the other thing it reminded me of, or that I was expecting from it, was that it was almost setting up a bit like the Merchant of Venice. You know, the kind of this trial that was happening, and that there was like a almost like the going to spoil Merchant of Venice. So if anybody doesn't know the story of Merchant of Venice, you're gonna have to look away now. But this kind of overcoming Shylock within the trial thing of the exactness of his language and exactly what he was trying him for and how careful he had to be. It sort of had that feel for it the whole way through, and ended differently than I was going to. But I was always running around my head when I was reading this little section, whatever. But yeah, so that was my main thought and takeaway from it. And like I said, nice way to finish off, especially with the almost like the mic drop bit where he walked away. You know, Sir Visal kind of does the mic drop and walks away, which is a nice way to end the book, I think.
Yeah, excellent. And just in time, joining us is Jake from Nerd Level Rising. And Jake, we were just going over our high level thoughts on this tale, Sir Visal's Tale. So you can chime in right now.
Awesome. Well, sorry that I'm late. I was running behind a little bit here today, but this was a really fun one. I actually, leading up to this, I went back and read the ones that I missed. The Unworthy of the Angel and the Conqueror, when I went back and did those, and then watched you guys' discussion. That was great, by the way. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that here today, but loved the stories, loved the chat. Sorry that I missed it. This one, probably one of my favorites of the collection, I would say. Anytime you put like witchcraft and witches in a story, I'm usually bought in, and it was really cool. I liked the sort of framing narrative aspect to it, and like you said, the Chris at the end, the sort of mic drop moment at the end was cool, and I really liked the I guess irony of these people who were going after the witches, and the way that they punished them is throwing them into a cauldron. I like, oh, that's great. So funny and backwards. But yeah, I had a great time, and it was a surprisingly fast read, I thought, and pretty straightforward, which was, kind of nice. And yeah, I don't know. I just had a great time.
Yeah, and I did as well. I really enjoyed this story. I really like these campfire style stories where you have the storyteller, and this is in a tavern, but basically it's the sitting around a campfire, everybody's paying attention to the storytellers. That style harkens back to like even Chaucer's tales and Canterbury Tales and stuff like that, and so I really have always enjoyed those type of things, and I really enjoyed how like Vasha said, that Sir VISAL'S tale, we're also paying attention to what is happening with him as well as the story he's telling, and I think that's pretty key and important to getting the most out of this story, because as we came to the end, he's got the he's got the mic drop basically, and he is a part of it in that sense. And there's some important aspects, I think, towards the end of the tale, but little hints along the way that that Donaldson plays with that campfire format a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought that was pretty fun. Yeah, so one of the first things that, of course, he says is that there is danger in stories, and that's like right in the first paragraph. And of course, we see that representation of danger in stories throughout the whole tale, because there's a danger in saying somebody's a witch. There's a danger in this who was the main character there that he was talking about?
Dom
Dom
Peralta.
Dom Peralta, yes. There was a danger in the way that he was shooting his mouth off, telling his own tales when he was drunk. And so that danger in talking, especially around the structure and setting of these templemen, who basically are a representative of the worst of the Inquisition, that that we've read about in history, but they telling tales around them is dangerous, and that I love how that danger keeps rising, and really the ending of the story, it's nice that these two got away, but the question is, what's going to happen to Sir VISAL? Because he just told some dangerous stuff. Not just about the subjects of his story, but about himself at the end. And that is kind of left up in the air, I believe.
I have a question on that point. I am unsure. Part of me was like, is Sir VISAL Dom Peralta? Like, is he just using an alias now? And him saying, like, well, who do you think threw the steam into the cauldron or whatever, or threw the water in there? Like, was he just covering for the fact that that's actually him when I was reading it, I was just like, is this the guy? And I guess part of what made me think that is he got in so much trouble at the beginning of the story when he was drunk, right, and kind of shooting his mouth off. But then now he is completely unaffected by all the wine that he's just binge drinking. And I'm like, did the witch basically make him immune to alcohol so that he doesn't get in trouble with that anymore? And now he's kind of out doing this thing. I could be totally wrong, but that was definitely a thought that I had, and I'm curious what you guys thought.
That's very cool. Very cool idea. He also would not be the first man in the world to start telling the story to get a whole load of free drink, and it led to absolutely nothing.
True.
It was based on no fact or anything that happened in any way. But I like your version a lot better, Jake, if you don't mind me saying. This idea that there was deeper meaning to it, and actually,
There you go.
it actually links thematically to the story, which is like these two characters of the witch and Don Perot sort of battling for the greater honor the whole way through.
Yeah.
Through the story, you know, I'm more honorable than you. Well, I can't let you be more honorable for me because you've done this for me, and they're sort of doing this tete-a-tete back and forward, and that sort of thematically, I think, would fit that the ultimate subterfuge and the ultimate winning would be something that the other person didn't realize, but it actually had saved them longer term. So actually, your version is very apt with that in mind.
Hey, move over, Stephen Donaldson. I got ideas.
Yeah, exactly. There's a new doctor in town.
I am. Oh, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I think I like that theory, but I think I prefer still to I slightly prefer to think that he's just the accomplice that is helping them get away. Just because I'm not even sure if this is a true story, exactly how he's telling it, and I don't know. It almost read to me more like he's telling the story to these young kids or these young guys about, I guess, sort of how to get away from the temple or like the oppressive, like the watchful eyes of the templemen. And I mean, kind of, Jared, back to your point, he kind of he fails at the end because if anyone there is going to report back to them, they have all they need to at least make them suspicious and come make an arrest. But like all throughout, like the beginning parts of the story, I really liked how critical he is of witches and drinkers and sin, and how he's talking like he's so much in line with the law, like, or with law and order. That I don't know. I think I do just still prefer if he and Don Perot are separate entities. Yeah,
That's fair. Yeah.
Well, Basha, what do you think about that idea?
I mean, the thought crossed my mind as I was reading it, mainly because it's how does he know so much about what happened?
They even asked him that. They're like, how do you know about the
Yeah.
private conversations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know that Dom Peralt disappeared, sort of, and maybe never came back. But maybe he liked this town too much to leave completely. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a fun idea to play with, regardless. Like, I don't mind it either way, but it's cool. Yeah. And I love that the way he tells the story, like, to what Alex said, the little bit of snark he has every time he talks about the templemen, and like he's sort of repeating their words, but not the spirit of them. So yeah, I mean, like, that takes a certain amount of jadedness to get, and it could be just from like living there or from being on the run from them. Either way.
Yes. Well, the question he asked at the end here is, do you louts have minds of stone? And when they question him about how does he know how much he knows, and it's very interesting because it moves it into the realm of, like Chris said, are you making this up? Are you just throwing a story at us, or were you actually there in the the people who were in the judgment chamber or what have you. One of the judges, which were not the templemen, which were actually the some of the lords of the land and stuff like that. And if he was in that, how much access did he have to the jail cell, and how much access did he have to Dom Peralt prior to the trial? That's not an area that he goes into during the tale. He's telling the tale of Dom Peralt and the witch Damala, and that is where Donaldson's playing with the structure of the story and the reader, in that he's focusing on his tale teller telling the tale of these characters, and not focusing on the teller of the tale taking away from that tale. And so, but I think it's ingenious that then the audience starts questioning the teller of the tale at the end, and I think that is what gives the story the nice little twist it has, because that question of how do you know throws us out of the other tale and puts us into a new situation with Sir Visal.
Yeah, that's true. That's really cool. Sort of along a similar line too, I just liked how they kept reminding us that somebody was telling us this story when he kept stopping to like, hey, give me more wine. That it just, that way because I kept finding myself being so engrossed in the story that I was like, oh, this is just the story. And then it's like, oh wait, no, remember, somebody's telling you this, right? So yeah, I thought that was a cool way to handle it.
And the wine tasted worse each time.
Yeah.
you brought it.
That's right.
Yeah, I had to look up a couple of words in this tale because I didn't know what they meant, and one of them was Malmsey, and I didn't realize that was a name of a wine. And it's actually a Greek wine, and it's because he said to bring us a wine which God intended to be Malmsey, but which man had reduced to something approaching vinegar.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what Malmsey was. I had no clue. So I actually had to look that up. But,
and you looked it up on Amazon and ordered a box of 12?
None of it's going to taste like vinegar, no.
No. Didn't do a good enough job of selling it.
No.
I agree with Jake in the fact that it was Brian Besson. Do you think part of the reason for it being so invested and that you feel it is real peril is that actually, even though, this is a book mainly of fantasy tales and that kind of stuff, a lot of the facets of the story are based in real events. I mean, slavery at the start of it, kind of the witch trials, etc. These are definitely things that happened within history. And so while it's sort of, you can put a Dawn and a Sarah in front of people's titles and you can take it into the realm of medieval England or otherwise, in terms of a fantasy nature, that you do feel the weight and the threat, because we know how the outcome of that actually went for anybody that was involved in those, and the kind of nature and the evilness of the witchfinders that were there. I mean, there was really no basis for any of that. It was all hokum, but they were wielding power essentially in that stage. And I found myself, when I was reading it, kind of projecting that onto the characters because of the link to history, essentially.
Sure. I was immediately on the side of Thamala. I was like, oh, she's great. Are you guys going after her?
Yeah, I think that like how reminiscent a lot of these scenes and moments are of like historical scenarios is, it really helps that really fun irony with with Sir Visal, me praising how orderly and great the institution of slavery is, or something like that, or maybe he's quoting the Templemen and their belief about how good slavery is. But yeah, it was things like that I think, I'm guessing Donaldson includes to give us this like visceral reaction of like hating anyone who could side with a storyteller who thinks that these institutions are fine. but that kind of gave me the impulse to start questioning a little deeper. Also, I don't. Have you guys read any Samuel R. Delaney's Tales of Navarion? Like some short stories that have been collected. He has some. I guess the way that he writes about slavery in some of those stories really reminded me of, or this really reminded me of that. So if you enjoyed that idea, then I'd say check him out.
Yeah,
I
it's
think the only
interesting.
thing we've read of Samuel Denny's Babel 17, I think, wasn't it? I think that's the only thing
Okay.
that we've come across so far. And other depictions of slavery. Well, Octavia Butler kind of springs to mind. We talked about
Right.
very bravely beforehand.
Yeah.
Slavery makes a large part of the background to a lot of their novels and stuff. So yeah.
Interesting. He also refers to this his this society that he's in, and where they consider that a purity of what is it, devotion, I guess, exalted devotion is as distinct as madness, and what the purity of mind with which the sinful world might term madness. And it's interesting because he's contrasting that as a form of madness to be pure of mind, when the real madness that's happening around him is that, of course, this whole Don Peralt's being accused of this whole crime of associating with a witch. And I found that contrast interesting, because he also brought up that, because Don Peralt felt bad about this whole situation, he Don Peralt's mind was saying this is not just. And it was interesting that Visal gave us a little hint of Don Peralt's mind, which once again leads to the either Jake's theory of he is Don Peralt, or he's just making up this story.
Sure.
But it also gave us a little commentary, even though he was exalting the things about the this the templemen were doing. He was also subtly inserting this other worldview into his story through Don Peralt, and I just didn't know if that irony, I thought, was really pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's very
especially when he talks about how wonderful slavery is, but he goes on to say that they separate fathers and their children, and there's like a lot of bad things that happen because of slavery. And then the thing he tells us after is that the templemen contribute to this activity, like they participate and support this activity because it's so noble and so wonderful. And so like every time he says something like that, you can see that he doesn't really mean it. He's just saying the word so that, I don't know. I assume if anybody really dumb overhears, they'll think he's on the side of the templeman.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's see what else we got here. And what do you think about the idea of purchasing a slave for a few coins, and the emphasis on that act as being an act of kindness towards this slave, towards this she was a witch, but we only had the slavers say so at the time that she was a witch. We didn't really know, but this idea of an exchange of coin for a person, and for but also for a viewpoint, so to speak. what should be done with this slave once he has her. He's of course wanted to announce he was setting her free right away, and that's how the witch got away. But the idea of exchanging coin and how that leads to other events, and I was wondering how you guys thought about that.
I mean, I think any good slave story sounds like a weird way, a weird phrase, but
Wow.
any powerful or like symbolic slave story, I think does a good job at reducing like the value of people to coins, or either coins or labor or some combination of the two. And I think this is just another example of that. I do really like that Don Peralt's irresponsibility and his drinking, like that's an example of irresponsibility that I think we would all kind of maybe not agree with, but like we could agree to an extent that if somebody gets too drunk and gets rowdy, then that's not necessarily responsible behavior. But then participating in the economy of the village, that is like also, or not participating, that's also seen as irresponsible, and setting himself like willfully apart from everyone else. Also, there's a little bit of a comment there about he reflects, oh, I shouldn't have freed you in public I shouldn't have resisted the regime in public. I should have done it in private. Maybe there is something there about it shouldn't be this performance to show how much better I am than other people, but it should have just been this thing between me and the person I'm trying to help. Not sure. I haven't really taken that thought too far, but the coins and participating in the society and the economy is, I don't know, that all kind of led me down that path.
I would agree with that. I think I had on a related note too, that it reminded me of no spoilers, but some things that get presented in like Memories of Ice, for example, where it's like, man, you can do some amazing things, but like timing also matters. And sometimes that great thing at the wrong time leads to some other issues. And I think that really happened here, that he could have set her free and it would have been totally fine. No one would have known if he would have just waited a little bit. So
it'd have been a pretty rubbish last story in this collection of the
That's true.
So
that's true.
I mean, thank heavens for small mercies.
Yeah, but would she the witch have felt the same level of need to one up like Chris, you were saying earlier about the being more noble? Would she have felt that same need if he would have waited and set her free later? Because that's what led to that exchange between them, and so it's just this paying for things and this exchange of noble virtue that is going back and forth with them. And I just wonder if the coins represented that initial exchange of that.
I also kind of want to throw something onto the pile. I think, Varsha, you mentioned earlier how Sir VISAL'S not actually buying any of the wine himself. It's his audience that's paying him with wine, basically. So in that layer of the story, it's like the wine is a coin of sorts, but it's also a coin that VISAL doesn't have to bother himself with. So he's setting himself outside of the system, and in a way, I don't know. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that into the mix.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that is, you're right. That is another aspect to that exchange of services, so to speak. In this medieval setting, of course, that is the entertainment venue, that sitting around a fire and listening to stories, and so VISAL serves as a sort of minstrel type bard, even though he had a position of importance other than that. But so that's it's interesting how that exchange came about. I just think it reminds me of course, you know, the 30 silver that Judas got, for his betrayal of Jesus, and so it it has that aspect to it. Um, and I just think Donaldson was playing with a lot of different stuff like that in here.
Yeah, totally. What'd you guys think of the? I'm just so curious what you all thought of the cauldron. I thought it was the funniest, most ironic thing, but it was also really cool and like fantasy-ish, right?
Yeah. What do you guys think of that?
I like the kind of the iron, kind of like metals, and this is even maybe connected to the coins too, if they're like a metal. But that sort of contrasted with how Thamala is able to heal herself up with all of the natural stuff in the forest or whatever. So like the natural world versus the metal worked like civilization.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Something going on there. And then that it's just a boiling pot of modernity. I don't know.
Yeah.
Development. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that was pretty cool. I really liked all that. And what was it? The Dom Peralt, he's the one that tipped it over, right? He's ended up burning himself
Yeah.
by tipping over the cauldron and basically washing away the Templeman guards who were trying to stop them from getting away. Nice little symbology there to get them out of there and put the fire to the enemy, so to speak.
Yeah. I also appreciated how, like, I feel like in so many stories the hero is just so good at things. And like here he goes up to try to free her and like he gets the first shackle off and then he like misses the second one and just botches it and he's scrambling around. Like I just appreciate seeing that because I think it's much more believable a lot of times, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because Donaldson played with that before with a lot of his characters in some of these stories.
Yeah.
It takes me back to when we read Read the Just and how some of the characters in that story are supposed to be heroes, but Read the Just is the ultimate hero, but he's actually just sitting back and let other people do the things they were supposed to be doing, and he's just standing there, and the other people are screwing up, and they're, and so it's fascinating. I like that too. I like that all of our characters are fallible and they're not superheroes, basically.
Yeah, he's still good at writing characters that feel super realistic in that way. I mean, he's great at characters in general, right? But I don't know. I see that so much, like with Covenant and a lot of the characters there, or even, like I said, I went back and read the Unworthy of the Angel and the Conqueror Worm, and like the characters in those, I'm just like these are literally very real people. It was, I don't know. It's just impressive to me. I really appreciate that about his writing.
Yeah. And I just would like to throw it a shout out. Everybody check out Jake's interview with Stephen Donaldson on his channel. That was fantastic, Jake. I really liked that.
Thank you.
And
I was honored that he did it. Yeah, that was. I was like, I'll shoot my shot. He probably says no, but you might as well try, and it worked out.
Nice. So, yeah, it was. Cool. It was fun listening to that. So I would urge everybody to check that out.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on Sir VISAL'S Tale?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was fun.
Pretty solid.
Sad the book's over.
Yeah. Me too. I am sad the book's over as well. But coming up soon, we do have indeed more Donaldson short fiction to read, and I am going to share the picture of what the next story looks like. There we go. This is another novella that Donaldson wrote, and it is it was written in 2015, so much after the whole Covenant series was done, the whole 10-book series was done, and after a lot of other stuff too. So that will be next up in the King's Justice. It's part of a collection of 2 novellas called The King's Justice, which is this is the cover for I think for the collection, and there's another tale in here called The August Gambit, so we'll be getting to that one as well at some point. But that will be next. I might who knows, I might throw a surprise short story in between them. We'll see, but keep everybody on their toes. But yeah, so once again, the King's Justice novellas will be a reread for me. I did read them when they first came out 10 years ago. So, and I do remember them being quite amazing. So we have some stuff to look forward to. All right. With all that said, episode number 20 is a wrap, and I would like to thank all my friends here. I'll put links to their channels below, and you can go and check out their stuff. And thanks for being here. And as I always say, be good to each other. Bye now.